Hello and welcome everyone to Let's Play Tomb Raider Remasters. I cannot believe this is actually happening. Last night I had trouble falling asleep because I was so excited, and this early morning I woke up with my heart racing. I knew that I need to play them or I'm actually gonna fall sick. And I have played them, my god. Well, to be fair, only the first game and only the Peru levels and Lara's home, but the remasters have actually exceeded my expectations. I get the positive side of being a bit of a skeptic, because you can really only be pleasantly surprised most of the time. Now, thank you so much for tuning in. I thought long about what is it I'm gonna do once the remasters are out, because there's no way in hell I'm missing being with you guys here. I thought about maybe making some stream, just checking out what the remasters look like, how they perform, how they play. And then I realized, well, why not do something that I'm maybe even quite good at? And that's not streaming. I stream once a year for Extra Life charity, and that's it. Instead, I thought maybe with the upcoming 10th anniversary of me starting to make a Let's Play for the very first Tomb Raider, well, why not cover every single level in this trilogy, including the expansion packs, again in the remastered version? And you can absolutely look forward to, from today, me uploading a Let's Play quite like this for every single one of these levels. I really hope you're gonna find it useful. And before we dive in, you might sort of be wondering, well, hold on a sec, why not just check already existing Let's Plays of the originals, right? They should be functionally and mechanically the same. Yes, absolutely. Well, there might be some differences because we don't know if they started or if the source code was from PS1 or PC versions of the game. So there might be a few differences here and there in terms of item placement, enemy counts, that sort of thing, which I'm gonna be on the lookout for. But I think there's something really fresh and exciting to re-experience these with a fresh coat of paint. And also, part of the mission of these remasters is really to get new people on board to try and give the old classic Tomb Raiders a try. It's too early to say whether this mission was successful by Aspyr and Crystal Dynamics. We'll see what the reviews, what the reception will be, what the player counts will be on Steam and other platforms. But if my videos can attract, now tackling the remasters, new people into Tomb Raiders, then I will consider it my mission successful. So, grab a warm drink and let's dive into Tomb Raiders. I can't believe I'm saying this. This is like visiting an old friend after almost a decade for me. Now that we've crossed into an alternate universe where the Tomb Raider remasters are reality and not just a figment of our imagination, let me explain our game plan. One of the perhaps most fun things that the remasters have brought into this chunky package is 269 achievements. Nice Aspyr. So there is a lot to do for us here. Now, I've never really in my life imagined I would be doing any kind of achievements guide. It's not something I ever planned. And my original Let's Plays were really just focused on, okay, here are all the secrets, here are all the items, and here are all the kills you can score in the classic Tomb Raiders. Do with it what you will. I never cared about any kinds of speedrunning tricks or having a good time or anything like that. I like to enjoy my games, I like to take my time, right? So I want to carry over this completionist approach to my current Let's Play. It feels kind of icky to use the word completionist after one guy ruined charity streams for all of us on this platform. Anyway, not gonna go down that rabbit hole. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna still maintain the 100% approach. We're gonna land all the kills we can in every single level, I'm gonna show you where all the goodies are at your disposal and all the secrets. Now, whether all the kills or goodies are worth it to you, it's up to you. I just really want to equip you with the information so you can sort of tackle this at your own pace and do your own playstyle however you want, and it is my responsibility to essentially show you everything. And achievements on top of that. So, I don't want to spend time going through every single one of these 269 achievements. Instead, I'm going to show you, tackling Tomb Raider 1, what is our game plan and perhaps how many playthroughs that's going to take. Now, I'm not actually going to make all those playthroughs into videos that I would upload here. I don't see the value in that. Instead, I want to make videos that you would have the information within to help you tackle every single achievement that Aspyr have came up with, right? So, to begin with, couple of things. I want you guys to keep in mind, and might explain why I'm gonna play the levels in a certain way, is that my own game plan is to have 3 playthroughs of Tomb Raider 1. Now, I'm only gonna be making videos for probably only the first one, not sure about New Game Plus, but in the first playthrough, I want us to beat Tomb Raider 1 without using any med packs. This sounds insane and hardcore, but actually, with a little bit of practice, it is not that difficult. I had the displeasure of having to beat Tomb Raider 1 without using any med packs, with using only pistols, and not saving and loading within a level, back when I was running retro achievements, and I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. So instead, we're gonna split these requirements apart, not tackle them all in the same playthrough, because it would be an absolute nightmare, right? And also, I want all of my videos to be beginner friendly. It wouldn't really help you guys to see me show off some of my skills and then just wonder, okay, but how the hell am I gonna pull this off, right? So instead, we're just gonna tackle beating the game without using any med packs, so we should get the Hardy Raider achievement at the very end. Also, leave them sucking wind, defeat every possible enemy in one walkthrough. This will pop up naturally as we essentially defeat all enemies in the game and land the highest number of kills possible, right? So it's no biggie for me, but I know that not all of you are interested in all the kills, but at least make sure that you will kill every new type. One fun thing, since the game offers photo mode, and I have some more thoughts about that later on, I will try and take a picture of every single enemy or NPC we encounter in the game, both in the original and remastered coat of paint, and that should be a fun photo album for later on. Now, deadline, find all 36 ways to die. This one is tricky. Again, we are very early on in the sort of release cycle of these remasters. There don't really exist any achievement guides out there. I'm sure someone is already working on that, but when you'll see me tackling achievements, it will be just me saying what worked on me, and I will practice them on PlayStation version of the game, but I would like you guys to see them unlock live on my Steam version of the game, to have a definite proof that they worked. Now, I do not know what are all 36 ways Lara can die. I'm not even confident in the number 36. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you every conceivable way I can think of making Lara die, and I think part of that will be succumbing to every single enemy type in the game, if that makes sense. So every level is gonna open up new opportunities for me to kill Lara, so that should be essentially another fun collectible, and whether that's gonna be enough to get this achievement at the end or not remains to be seen. I myself do not know, but I'm gonna do my absolute best. Then, Tomb Cleaner, take every collectible item in a single walkthrough. This is a given, because I want to 100% the levels, I'm gonna show you where all the pickups are, and Remasters made an amazing change. They now, on the in-game stats screen you can summon using compass or stopwatch, they now show you how many pickups there are in the level. I honestly wish they would have done this for kills as well, but it's still a vast improvement over the originals. The original Tomb Raider 1 would only show you at the very end, and original Tomb Raider 2 and 3 would not show you the total at all. Now, play it like you did on console in 1996, so this is perhaps a scary one, especially for beginners. Save 86 times or less in a single playthrough. Good thing is that, just like the original releases, the game keeps a track of your count of saves in Lara's passport for you, meaning you will know whether you're approaching this 86 threshold or not, but if you're new to the game, you just have no idea or no estimation how long the levels are. So it kind of discourages saving at all, and I'm not a fan of this. I don't like achievements or playstyles that make you save less and just repeat the same segments over and over. Nevertheless, I'm gonna try and keep the saving to minimum. I think I'm gonna do fine keeping it under 50 for the main Tomb Raider 1 game. I'm not counting the Unfinished Business expansion, but this achievement should only apply to the basic first 15 levels, plus Lara's home, but you cannot save or load in that level. Now, after us the deluge, make all shuttered floor panels crash on single playthrough. So I myself am not sure if this achievement refers to a particular level in the game, or if it refers to the entire game. That's a scary thought, right? But I'm up for the challenge. I'm making a promise to try and break every single breakable panel in the game. That's something I haven't really thought about when I was playing the game back in 2014 and making a Let's Play. And it took me tackling Tomb Raider 4 to realize, hold on a sec, there are a lot of breakable objects in these games, and I never really counted those. So, given this fresh start, I'm gonna try and break every single breakable panel and piece of debris and whatever we can think of. and essentially see if the achievement will pop up. That's the best I can offer right now. Again, there are no achievement guides out there that I've been able to find yet. And maybe as I'm progressing through the game, these will start popping up and we'll realize, hold on a sec, I was maybe mistaken, but I'd rather do more work than less just in case this is the requirement, okay? Now, then there are a couple of more achievements that also apply to the entire playthrough, and that's I only play for sport. Finish the game in less than 5 hours. So I really would not recommend ruining your first playthrough trying to rush through the game. Even if you're familiar with the levels, you're not really going to take in the sights and really enjoy what the remasters have to offer. And in general, I like speedrunning or time trial achievements for individual levels, but I really cannot stand it for an entire playthrough. I wish they would instead give us an achievement for meeting certain time across every single level, because you could beat it, then repeat it and just speeding through it, like the Anniversary or Legend games did. And also retro achievements did for the classic Tomb Raiders, and it was a lot of fun actually to do it on individual level basis, but for the entire playthrough, not a fan. So I'm gonna keep this to my second playthrough, where I'm not gonna care about kills, items, secrets, just making sure we reach the level exit screen as soon as possible. Not yet decided if I'm gonna make a guide for that, probably not, because by seeing my actual completionist kind of let's play, you should know exactly what you need to achieve in every level. Then it just becomes about practice, there's no way around it. And finally, Hard-Boiled, beat the game using only Lara's guns. Not a fan of this. Remember me tackling retro achievements for Tomb Raider 1, where you had to kill everything, pick up everything, find all secrets, not even being able to save and load, and use Lara's pistols and not use any medpacks? Well, this is thankfully a small chunk of it. I really recommend you do not combine the Hard-Boiled achievement with Hardy Raider, okay? Keep them in separate playthrough, so that as a consequence for using guns only, you will at least be able to pop medpacks, and that's what it will be about. Now, I'm still not sure if it's a good idea to combine the speedrun achievement with the pistols only, because that's gonna slow things down, but given we can ignore and outrun a lot of the enemies, I think I should be fine. And here we go, consolidate the material, that's what I'm going to be doing, beat the game on New Game Plus. So, New Game Plus for me right now is a bit of a mystery. I've heard rumors that it means enemies are tankier, they have a lot more health, and that they deal more damage to Lara. A mode like that was actually available already in the original releases. They gave you all the guns with infinite ammo into your inventory and just made enemies tankier, and honestly, it was really dull. I never played through Tomb Raider like that. I didn't see the point. I like the normal difficulty more. So it's gonna be interesting to tackle this. And also in Tomb Raider 1, there are some rumors that they're gonna reintroduce the original save system from Sega, Saturn and PlayStation 1, meaning you have to use those 86 save crystals spread across the levels in the game to beat it. So that's gonna be an interesting challenge. Again, not sure if there's going to be any value in me doing an actual Let's Play just for the New Game Plus mode, because seeing my videos and knowing where everything is and how to beat levels and how to tackle certain enemies should prepare you for New Game Plus as well, in theory. So to summarize, in my Let's Play you will see me beat every level without using any med packs, defeating all enemies, finding all items, all secrets, trying to come up with 36 or perhaps even more ways for Lara to die, saving less than 86 times, and making sure we break all the breakaway tiles. That's a lot to keep in mind, but I am a seasoned Tomb Raider, I am up for the challenge. So, with that in mind, let's delve into Lara's first adventure. So hello and welcome everyone to Let's Play Tomb Raider 1 Remastered. This guy is 115 speaking. Ha! Feels incredible after such a long wait to finally say it. And also a bit weird to say this almost 10 years after tackling the original Tomb Raider 1 Let's Play back in 2014, but here we find ourselves in this alternate reality where remastered and re-released Tomb Raiders on modern platforms are in fact real. So, this main menu should sound familiar, but not look entirely familiar. Let me explain. We have a couple of options here, all part of Lara's toolset and things she carries with her at all times. One of them, I guess because she is homesick, is a Polaroid of her mansion in Surrey in England. Using this, we can enter Lara's home tutorial, which is what we will be tackling in this video. But before that, you can actually reconsider, press escape to go back, Let's look at Lara's British passport. So it opens up with lovely detail. Here we can essentially start a new game. That means either the main Tomb Raider 1 or the Unfinished Business expansion levels, which actually were released after Tomb Raider 2, interestingly enough. And then Tomb Raider 2 expansion levels were released after Tomb Raider 3. And Tomb Raider 3 expansion levels, okay, here I'm not entirely sure if they were released after Tomb Raider 4. Nevertheless, the authors used some expertise they learned from the next game in the franchise, next entry, and applied it back into the engine and source code of the old game to create some really expertly crafted levels that are tough as nails. Now, these levels were only ever available for PC and only via physical distribution, so you can imagine how difficult it is nowadays to track these down, right? I was one of the lucky few who did manage to find them, and I played them. I even made Let's Plays in the past, but finally for the first time they are available also digitally and also on consoles. This is incredible. So, we'll be tackling, of course, those as well. Now, the other page just gives us the option to exit game. What is interesting is the detail on this passport over here. We can see Lara has no emergency contacts whatsoever, there's no name, no address, no telephone. To be fair, this is before Winston moved in to help her, right? So I'd like to believe he becomes her emergency contact later on. And also we can see some clauses and paragraphs about registration overseas, dual nationality, caution. The passport remains the property of Her Majesty's government, the United Kingdom, and be withdrawn at any time. It should not be tampered with or passed to an unauthorized person. They went the extra mile. So that's it. When we'll also have a couple of save games from the main game, we'll be able to load them via this passport too. But let's close it back. This handheld, which really reminds me of Game Boy, is where Lara in her spare time apparently plays Pong, according to what's on the screen, and also where we can take a look at the controls and in-game settings. So first and foremost, one of the main selling points of these remasters was also more modernized control scheme. I was a bit curious and skeptical and just couldn't imagine how on earth they're gonna tackle it, and I'm quite impressed with what they managed to pull off with modern controls. But, full disclaimer, I'm not here to talk about modern controls. I am going to play using tank controls. Why? Because I've spent decades mastering them and they are now part of my DNA. And you will probably, as you're searching for Let's Plays or playthroughs of other YouTubers on the platforms, you will see a trend where those of us who've been around the classic Tomb Raiders for quite a while will prefer the tank controls, whereas more new players to the series will perhaps prefer the modern controls. Now, I think the real mastery will come from switching both in certain situations, but I'm not there yet. I'm as fresh as you are to the modern controls. So, I'm gonna stick to the tank controls, but regardless of whether using tank controls or modern controls, these inputs will be universal. Run, back, left, right, walk, jump, action, weapon, look, roll, flare, duck, dash, and secondary. So, what I would like to do in my tutorial, whenever I'll be talking about inputs and putting on-screen prompts, what combination of keys I'm pressing, by the way I'm using a keyboard for this Let's Play rather than a controller, whether using a PlayStation controller, Xbox controller, keyboard, modern control scheme or tank control scheme, I would like my tutorial to be equally helpful, right? So I'm not gonna say press shift to walk, all I'm gonna say is press the walk key, and whatever you decide to assign it, awesome, I hope it works out for you, right? So it is the column on the right that I'll be referring to in my on-screen prompts during this tutorial. So this should be applicable to you regardless of what hardware you're using and which control scheme. By the way, interesting thing, action and secondary action will have different uses in the modern control scheme. There is a different button for shooting and different button for interacting with objects, kind of like in the Crystal Dynamics trilogy. Not sure that's necessarily a good thing, but there you have it. So the secondary button, if you're using tank controls like me, you will never ever use. Duck and dash are for Tomb Raider 3. To be honest, flare is for Tomb Raider 2 and 3, so I feel like it should be grayed out for Tomb Raider 1 as well, but there we go. Okay, so these are the controls I will be using myself. Then, walk to action indicators, I'm gonna talk more about when we play the first level of the game. You can of course enable disable vibration. Using dead zone and sensitivity, you can customize how the analog sticks will behave, especially important if you'll be playing using the modern controls. And then we have invert horizontally, invert vertically. As you can see, I have enabled, for my own purposes, invert vertically. Why? Well, because looking and swimming used to be inverted vertically in the original Tomb Raiders. That's what I am familiar with. Feel free to try it out, some people like it, some don't. I'm just happy we have the option to customize it however we see fit. And that's it for the controls. And finally, I'm not sure if many of you have even used this device ever in early 90s, if you were even alive back then, but this is a so-called Walkman, where you would play a cassette tape and listen to music. I have some still very foggy childhood memories of our family having a yellow Walkman. Yeah. Suffice to say, they did not have great sound quality, but it was cool to listen to music on the go. This is Lara's Walkman. This story is happening in 1996, by the way. So we can customize the volume of voiceovers, in-game cutscenes, FMV cutscenes, and musical tracks via this slider. And this one will be all about sound effects like footsteps, animal growling, and gunfire. These are the levels where I prefer to have them, so that you can hear both the game and my commentary. Let me know in the comments in case you would like me to change these, but I found this kind of balance agreeable. And as you can see, the music was much louder. Now you can also change the language on the go, which is awesome. It was not an option in the original one, it just depended on what sort of regional release you had, and we can enable or disable subtitles. Finally, about time. It took Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, the 6th Tomb Raider game, to finally have subtitles in a game. They were never part of Tomb Raider 1 to 5. Which was a big shame, because especially in the first 3 Tomb Raiders, understanding the voice actors was sometimes very tricky. Now saying that, I already noticed one mistake in the subtitles when starting the first Greek level, but later about that, I'm just happy they are there. So we're absolutely gonna enable them. And finally, extras, Lara's Shades. When I saw that, whoa, we have extras in the main menu, are there gonna be some unlockable concept arts? No. It's just end of user license agreement that you have to read the first time you boot up the game. You didn't see it yet because this is, I think, the 3rd time I'm booting up the game, just because I was testing the controls and that sort of thing. So you can reread that if you want, or play the credits, which I hope will actually run when we finish each game. That would seem appropriate, I think so anyway. So there we have it. Unfortunately, there are no graphical settings to this. Presumably they assumed that even a potato could run these games even with the remastered graphics at this point, so they didn't add them. And what's a shame, however, that even consoles like Sega Saturn or PlayStation 1 had gamma or brightness slider, and although it wasn't particularly good, especially in PlayStation 1, but it also, you were able to resize the screen depending on what external screen you're using, right? You're no longer able to do that. To be fair, nowadays there's less need for that. But it's still a bit of a disappointment there are no graphical settings to tweak around here. That is a shame. Now, before we dive in, I want to show you the coolest thing about the main menus and actually the remastered package in general. On the go, on PC using F1 key, you can switch between the original design and the remastered ones. And everything will be as you might remember it. Lara's Shades, Lara's Home Polaroid, the passport... It's all here. This is absolutely incredible. And actually, here for the first time, I never knew as a kid playing the original Tomb Raider, even as a young adult, what these pages mean. And now I finally know. Emergency contact, general notes. And we can sort of briefly flick through Lara's picture there, but it closes and opens up so quickly. I think that's because we don't have a loading screen yet. So there we have it. On the lower right corner of the screen, you will see Tomb Raider 2 icon starring Lara Croft. Well, if you do press down on the D-pad or the controller, you will find yourself in Tomb Raider 2 main menu. Now, I'm not gonna spend time talking about Tomb Raider 2 menu, we'll get there when we get there after Tomb Raider 1 and Unfinished Business, but may I just point out how technically impressive this is. And if you press down again, you will find yourself in Tomb Raider 3. This, by the way, this right here, original screen, was the first Tomb Raider screen I've ever seen in my life. Has had a great lasting impact on me. So, yeah, this is incredible. Rather than having some clumsy launcher with some de novo DRM system or anything like that, they just went ahead and made all these games and their remastered and original graphics switchable. Now, the original graphics are not entirely original. There is a big caveat to there, but I'm going to talk about that once we're in an actual level. One other thing I want to point out is that the icon now at the top right corner of the screen, again Tomb Raider 2 starring Lara Croft, is actually the jewel case CD cover. And the same goes for Tomb Raider 3 Adventures of Lara Croft on the bottom and Tomb Raider 1 at the top. So all these are subtle references made by the devs to each other game's jewel CD cover, which is incredible. And I think in some regions also they happen to have been the box art. But the moment you switch to modern graphics, they will update these old covers showing modern day Lara and having slightly different backgrounds. It's incredible attention to detail, and they didn't have to go this far to do it. So not only is it convenient, it also pays homage and is absolutely charming. I honestly don't think they could have done a better job with the menus, at least I cannot think of a way. Now, with all that being said, let's dive right into Lara's home, and I'm also, using the original game's manual, gonna provide a bit of a background and synopsis into who Lara is and why is she the way she is, because this is not something you'll find in the Survival Trilogy or even the Crystal Dynamics Trilogy. This is how the original Lara was written.
Welcome to my home. I'll take you on a guided tour.
And there we are, for the first time ever. Interesting thing, even during the FMV cutscenes and even during the actual loading screens, you can press F1, or on PlayStation I think it should be the start button, to switch the graphics, and it will switch into the original loading screens and into the uncleaned version of the FMVs. I am mind blown. Again, I don't know, especially with FMVs, how you can change them on the go, how they manage to do this. It's truly remarkable and a bit of a mystery. Now, I'm gonna try and keep the graphics changing to the minimum because I want to keep us fully immersed in the environments, okay? Alrighty then. So, you could already see the subtitles on the bottom of the screen, but I'm gonna take my word back now. I'm gonna turn into original graphics and show you something really cool. Observe how the subtitles look now.
Use the D-pad to go into the music room.
So they actually pixelated the subtitles for the original graphics, even though the originals had no subtitles. They also touched up some of the sprite work. It's kind of incredible. Now I feel like we should listen to Lara and go into the music room using the D-pad, which by the way is a line you are not gonna hear in the PlayStation version, because they're assuming you're using the, I guess, analog stick to move her. But it's missing from the PS version, but it is on PC, thankfully. So more lines from Shelley Blonde. Yay! First things first, let us unlock the very first achievement. You need to press both thumbsticks on a controller, and again, the game doesn't tell you, or perhaps even more ominously or cryptically, you need to press the F3 function key on the keyboard on PC. And now we find ourselves in the photo mode. The cool thing about doing this on PC is that you have a free range mouse movement, but because I inverted vertical camera movement, my mouse moves up and down inverted, which makes moving across space a bit confusing, but you can still use WSAD to move around, which is pretty neat. Now, This is Lara's Croft Manor outfit. Also, it was remastered in Anniversary, but it looks way better here. And you have just unlocked the first achievement. Only thing you need to do is really just open up a photo mode. You don't even need to take a screenshot or use the share button on PlayStation. There's so much to remember here. Open photo mode achievement was unlocked. Now, unfortunately, you do not see that happening on Steam because I already unlocked it the first time I booted up the game, just as I was messing around with the controls, so I'm not caught off guard here, right? Now, photo mode is something I don't usually want to spend a lot of time with, and it's not something I really care about in video games in general. But I'm thinking that we're going to make a travel journal and take a picture of every enemy we're going to encounter. I think that's going to be fun. And I'd like to take a picture of Lara in every single outfit across the 3 games at least once. So, let's keep the training outfit, absolutely. And I think some kind of sitting pose would be appropriate. Now, unfortunately, you cannot move her up and down. At least I haven't figured out a way to do it. And we can even, using the photo mode, take a look at Vilcabamba, the Lost City of Incas, which is such a great tie-in to the actual main levels of the game. So you can see what Lara was reading, and something really neat about photo mode, and I'm not sure if this was intentional, but you can travel around corners and explore the levels, almost like a flying ghost. This is incredible. Not only is it a great machinima tool, oh wow, we can see the skybox surrounding Croft Manor. There are palm trees? Huh? Is that intended to be there? See, that's odd. I'm not sure if we are supposed to see this, but you know what? I'm taking a screenshot. Let's say this is a photo of one of Lara's travels. So that's the skybox, apparently, of Surrey in England. Yeah, okay. But you can fly across entire levels. Now, I have not done any real thorough testing, so I cannot tell you if you can fly infinitely across any kind of map size. But what's here is absolutely incredible, and I think photo mode might be a very good tool for me to maybe explain ahead and in advance what is it I'm trying to achieve in a given segment of a level. I was not at all excited about the photo mode, but here I am, just mind blown. So let's take our first picture, and an appropriate facial expression to go along with it, although the default one is pretty good. Yeah, you know what? It has to be winking, Lara, come on. Crossed legs and feet on her, let's call it a sofa, and I want a good angle at this. If any of you is an actual photographer, you are gonna suffer for this kind of composition I'm creating here, but you know what? It's fine. It's just for fun. I want to grab the pillows. I wish we could actually just make a cutout out of this picture, but there we go. I want to make the secrets of Incas visible. Let's see. Maybe let's make a separate screenshot. Let's make one like this. There we go. Oh, this is really cozy. And another one. Again, I wish we could move Lara down, but it's not really possible. There she is, having a break, pillows, reading a book. And that's essentially it. You can also later on swap weapons around from across the 3 different games, and you can also take a look at all the different outfits across the 3 games. I don't want to go through them really very quickly because I want them to be kind of a nice surprise if you haven't seen them yet. And also we can... Oh, I forgot about it. We can tweak the field of view. We can roll things around. You know what? This is making my head spin. Whoa. Now, how did Lara take this picture? I'm sorry, I'm going to be mean here, but it's like your typical boomer using a web camera here. Let's do it. Okay. Lara, I'm sorry. It had to be done. So, enough fooling with the photo mode. Let's listen to Lara. We have to use the D-pad to get into the music room or whatever your preferred choice of controls. May I just point out the dynamic lighting is incredible. The original graphics had sorts of artificial sources of light across, so this time around, using the dynamic lighting, everything would be dark unless they would find spots like these, letting light shine through. Oh, and another thing I want to highlight is you can take a peek outside. This is all that was visible in the original. This was too abstract to make anything out of. Now, we can see corridors that are very familiar to us from Tomb Raider 2 and 3. However, here they are in their pristine, unaltered form. If you haven't played the following entries, let's just say Lara will do something that suits her needs far more than this, and her personality. Okay, the fire is out. This bookcase will have an interactable book in Tomb Raider 3, I remember, and this fireplace will be on. Anywho, let's move on, and in the next room I will finally start explaining some of the controls.
Okay, let's do some tumbling. Press the jump button.
Okay, let's press the jump button.
Now press it again and quickly press one of the directions and I'll jump that way.
So Lara is correct. You first need to press the jump key and almost immediately after one of the directions. If you do it together, you can have mixed results. For example, Lara might just start running and jumping first. You don't want that. Now we are talking about standing jumps. So first jump key and then add forward. First jump key and then add backwards. First jump key, add left or right. And that's it, really. Now, if you forgive me, I'm going to switch into the original graphics because I want to emphasize just how this game works. By the way, full disclosure, this is not some technical issue or anything like that. The original graphics are locked onto 30 FPS. I do not know why they made this decision. But there we go. So that's why it's a bit rougher. It's not just the graphics, it's also the frame rate. I was really hoping to see the originals running on 60 FPS. Maybe we'll get that in future patch. We'll see. But what I want to highlight is that the entire Tomb Raider world, that is Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, is made up of squares and blocks of different heights. Okay? So for example, this tile over here, you can see the border here, and you can see the border of the wood planks here, and here, and here. This is one square we are currently moving on, okay? Now, the interesting thing is, these squares can, again, have different heights. The height you see on this training mattress over here is one step, okay? One step is essentially 1/4 of a block, and there'll be a better example of it down in the Great Hall. But here's 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. So now we are a block above this. Now, the reason I'm trying to highlight this, especially if you're new to Tomb Raiders, is that every single Lara's movement covers essentially the same distance all the times. And the sooner you understand how much distance she covers with every move, the sooner it will click in your mind and the controls will start making sense, okay? Let me show you that by pressing forward just once, Lara essentially covers, well, let's call it half a square or 2/3 of a square, right? You can also just keep holding forwards and she will start running seamlessly like this. Now, if you're on a border of a square and you press backwards, she will almost cover an entire square backwards, okay? This is very important later on for running running jump setups. Now, you can also turn Lara by pressing left and right, or you can also do that as she's running forward, or even as she's hopping backwards. You can pivot left, you can pivot right, entirely up to you. There's more to Lara's movement, however. You can also hold the walk key. Again, my default key binding on keyboard is Shift, but it might differ for you depending on the control scheme and the hardware for input you're using, and Lara will take a small step forward. The step forward is essentially a very small part of a square. It's like 1/5 of a square. Now, the step backwards is a bit larger. It's 1/4 of a square. And gradually you can chain these up, again, to seamlessly walk forwards carefully whilst pivoting Lara left or right. And you can do the same thing when walking back, right? You can pivot her left or right. Furthermore, you can do so-called sidestep to the left or to the right, holding the walk key and pressing either left or right. Now, this is actually a disappointment for me because the original game used to have dedicated hotkeys for sidestepping, and it was the same case for Tomb Raider 2. In Tomb Raider 3, they changed it, and there's no longer a dedicated hotkey for sidestepping because they introduced new moves that needed those extra buttons on a controller. They needed to free up some space. But I don't think that was really needed for Tomb Raider remasters. Here, you don't have a dedicated hotkey for sidestepping left or right. You need to combine the walk key and left or right. Why is this a problem? It makes pivoting Lara as she's sidestepping a bit more tricky, but it's still possible. All you need to do is hold the walk key, press, for example, left, and then immediately release the walk key, and she starts pivoting left as she's sidestepping left. And you can do the same thing to make her pivot to the right, although that's more difficult on the fingers. And you can do the same thing on the right side, like this, or immediately start pivoting into the other direction. It's a bit tricky to get the handle on, but there you have it. With dedicated hotkeys, this would be much easier, okay? Now, furthermore, why would you ever need to walk as opposed to just run when you cover a lot of distance more quickly? Well, there is a thing called safety walk, and once we are on higher blocks than just this step size, I'll be able to demonstrate that fully, but for now, know that you can even walk across steps, and that applies both to either backwards, or you can either do that forwards or backwards, I mean. What you cannot do is sidestep across steps. See, Lara will not sidestep up a step, nor she will sidestep down a step. Now, this might seem like a disadvantage, but this will be enormously useful for setting up a couple of really particular jumps. So just keep sidestepping in mind if you want to align yourself perfectly on a step size block and don't want to sort of overwalk down or up, right? So that's essentially it. Now, Lara already explained to us how to do jumps. Jumps will help you overcome all sorts of obstacles, and also, I cannot stress this enough, you need to be more in the air than you are on the ground during combat encounters, but we'll deal with those stressful situations a bit later. Let me switch back to the original graphics so we can judge the distance better that way. Okay, so your standard jump up, Lara will just jump on a place. However, each subsequent jump moves her a couple of inches forward. We are no longer at the border of the square, right? We essentially covered a few inches forward. Eventually, if you were to hold this button long enough, you will find yourself in the middle of the square, or even on the next square entirely. Actually, let me see. By the way, each of these jumps, I'm not repressing the jump key. You can just hold the jump key and Lara will do it automatically. See? And gradually we found ourselves in the middle of the square. Or maybe to show it to you in an even better way, eventually Lara will find herself on top of this, see, workout mat. So it nudges her a couple of inches forward. Again, very useful for alignment or for grabbing certain ledges above you. Now, Lara, via Shelly Blonde's voice, already explained to us how to change certain directions. So if you press jump and forward, you'll go forward or backward or left or right. Each jump like this covers almost 2 squares distance, right? So for this one, let me show you. We have 3 squares, I think, ahead of us. We should be on the border of the second with the third now. There you go. Same goes for backflip, 2 squares. And now for side flips, there, you will find yourself on the square on the other side, right? So you can use this to reliably cover certain distances. However, there is more to this. First of all, we have already used the walk key, we have used jump key and the directional keys. How about we combine all 3 of them together and see what happens? Well, you can, whilst holding walk key, press the jump key and immediately forward, and Lara will do this sort of swan diving somersault. And when she hits the ground, she will sort of propel herself via this somersault. So with the jump itself, you will again cover about 2 squares, but the somersault itself covers an extra half a square. So you still need to hit solid surface with the 2 square distance to make it across a gap, let's say. So it's not that useful, but it can be pretty neat for this extra stylish effect or for even overcoming a couple of traps, right? And one more thing I would like to show you. There is a roll key, okay? And what this essentially does is it makes Lara lunge herself forward, which means she will overcome 1 square distance almost, and this will make her also face the other side, okay? This is very useful for quickly setting yourself up for jumps or traversal and not having to slowly turn around 180 degrees. You can just press roll key. You just need to be careful that she will cover an extra square, which in certain situations can be deadly, right? Now, you can also do this, and this is an advanced move, but the sooner you master it, the better, in midair. You need to press the jump key, then forward, and then roll in this order. You cannot press all three at the same time, okay? So jump, forward, roll, and you will again cover 2 squares distance, but Lara will find herself facing the other direction. And what's neat about this, it works backwards as well. So during a backflip, meaning jump key backwards and roll, Lara will find herself facing that very same direction after she turned herself by 180 degrees, okay? So these are very useful. There are a couple of situations, not in Tomb Raider 2, but in Tomb Raider 2 and 3, sorry, not in Tomb Raider 1, but in Tomb Raider 2 and 3, where you need to overcome obstacles via using this mid-air roll. You need to have learned it by then. Interesting thing, this was not the case in Tomb Raider 1. There was no mid-air roll. Whilst pressing the roll key in mid-air, nothing would happen, like now. But, of course, that's because I'm not pressing it. Now, in the remastered version, even when using the original graphics, you can absolutely do mid-air roll, which was introduced in Tomb Raider 2. I am incredibly happy about this addition, okay? Now, this is also an important combat maneuvering tool, as I'll show you when we'll enter a combat scenario. Another thing I would like to explain is that we can no longer turn around slowly like we could in the original. What would happen in the original game, if you were to hold the walk key and press left or right, Lara wouldn't sidestep because she had dedicated sidestep hotkeys. Instead, she would turn around like this, but much more slowly, giving you extra precision. And this is a move that, to be fair, I've never used much, but it was unfortunately lost in the transition to the remasters, right? So it seems they made some sacrifices. It's a move that was also present in Tomb Raider 2, and move that again disappeared from Tomb Raider 3 because of the introduction of new moves, so removing sidestepping hotkeys and therefore having to sidestep using walk and left or right. So slow turning is no longer possible in the remasters. That's one thing that was lost. Now, before we enter the Grand Hall, and bear with me, the more you learn now, the easier time you're going to have later on, is looking. Looking is what I'd like to introduce you to. So, if you press a dedicated look key, you can already see the camera will shift, like this. There's almost like Lara's paying suddenly more attention, and you can look left, right, up, or down. Now, I myself, I have up or down inverted, but this should not be the case unless you go into the controls menu and specifically take this, right? The same will apply to swimming, and we'll get there in a while. So looking is very useful in case you want to set up your jump, and especially, and I can't stress this enough, so that you can really look at Lara's feet and see if she's aligned perfectly. For example, now we're slightly to the left. I want to align her perfectly forward to make a difficult jump. I'm going to use look key and look down to see how aligned her head is, okay? Keep this in mind when setting yourself up for jumps. However, in the remasters, we have, of course, the addition of the photo mode. So that's another useful tool you can use to essentially see how aligned Lara is. Now we can see she's slightly aligned to the right. She might not make a difficult and demanding jump, okay? So this is, oh man, the photo mode is such a pleasant surprise. Okay, now I'm going to also show you something that was not part of the original Tomb Raider 1, but that you can pull off in remasters because it was carried over from Tomb Raider 2 and 3, and that's looking whilst running. So this might be a bit tricky to pull off. I'm holding forward, holding the look key, and I can still press left or right doing this combination to make Lara look around as she's moving across the environment and running. This is a quite tricky move to pull off with not that much of a payoff because you can essentially stop and look around, but it can be useful in combat and it can be useful during certain timed challenges. For example, you're running away from spiky walls, you can just look to the side to see how close they are, right? You cannot look up and down whilst running. That's not the case. However, you can also use looking whilst jumping. Let me show you. See, I'm looking left. And now I'm looking right. Granted, you do not have much time because Lara will hit the ground soon, but you can absolutely do that. And it doesn't work up or down, only left and right, just like during running. And here's something really trippy. If you jump back and press the look key, this is what will happen. Yeah, not very helpful, is it? However, if you do this in original graphics, this is what will happen. all of a sudden, looking whilst backflipping to the left or looking whilst backflipping to the right works. But if you switch to the remastered graphics, it's a mess. Although, to be fair, it is quite fun because this is probably kind of what Lara sees. So I'm not sure why it behaves differently, and perhaps it has less to do with graphics and more to do with 60 FPS versus 30 FPS, and in 30 FPS it works. Now, I'm getting into a lot of detail here. I wanted to cram all the basic and combination moves into one video, so forgive me for that if it's too much to take. But hopefully this video will serve as a library for you to just check back later on in case you're stuck or forgot how to do a move. Now, enough looking, enough walking, enough running. Let's see what's in the grand hall.
Ah, the main hall. Sorry about the crates. I'm having some things put into storage and the delivery people haven't been yet.
You are so polite, Lara. By the way, what happened was not me controlling the camera. It was the game automatically tilting the camera this way as Lara was speaking. Now you can absolutely interrupt angles like these using the look key on your own, but I didn't want to do that. Just keep that in mind whenever there's an in-game camera view that wrestles the control away from Lara. You can either interrupt them using the look key, or even if you don't see it, you still have full control over Lara. It's just an interesting thing. Now, we can absolutely admire what the Croft Manor looks like. There will be an entrance and stairway to the attic on this side in Tomb Raider 3. This door leads to Lara's bedroom, which we will see in Tomb Raider 2 and 3. I think this door will disappear completely. Essentially, Lara's doing a lot of renovations to this whole place. Every year it changes drastically. But I think the change from Tomb Raider 1 to 2 is the most drastic one. I love this two-door style of roofing on the ceiling. It's really great. And there's also a mysterious door over here, but I have no idea where it could lead. There's, well, this room, whatever it is, probably some supply closet. Maybe there's a sarcophagus inside with Winston in it, and Lara needs to read an incantation from Necronomicon to awaken him. That would be my best guess. But that will happen next year. Now, we're gonna descend a flight of stairs, doesn't matter.
Crate, and while still pressing forward, press action, and I'll vault up onto it.
I did not expect you to cut me off so rudely, Lara. Anyway, we can admire Ark of the Covenant. They really went for the Indiana Jones interpretation here. I absolutely love this. Yeah, don't worry, I'm not gonna start taking pictures using photo mode. Social media field will be flooded with these already. By the way, I can't wait, it's gonna be awesome. And again, another look outside, and what's really cool about this, we can see a fish fountain there, a gate, although the gate has wooden planks behind it. What on earth is that? The cool thing about that is that this is a hint of grounds that we are gonna walk across in the following sequels, the other Tomb Raider games, 2 and 3. So this is a bit of a tease they added into Tomb Raider 1, a little garden maze. There's also a passageway. If I could just... Wait, we have a photo mode. Can we use it? Oh, well, there's the end of the map. So yeah, lots of hints and passageways of what the future Croft Manor or Lara's home will look like. This is really cool. By the way, you could have already read in the synopsis that Lara's family disowned her for not trying to marry a guy she didn't even meet, and for essentially doing her own thing and not being a proper lady. So, as it turns out, Lara has really cool aunts. Not aunts, aunts? Aunt is the pronunciation. Essentially sisters of her mother or her father that look after her. And this estate was given to Lara after her parents disowned her by one of her aunts. So that's really awesome. And they are being very supportive. So Lara has some good role models in her life as well. It's not just all dark and depressing. Now, back to Lara's instructions. After all, we still want to unlock an achievement for following them, right? What Lara said essentially, if you see an obstacle, press action and forward to climb up. Remember what I said about the stairs? This is done automatically, but the moment you see something that's constituted of a height of, let's say, 2 stairs, and this is a good example, Lara will no longer automatically climb it. You need to hold forward and press action. And she'll make an animation that corresponds to a height of an object. This crate over here is also 2 stairs high. That's 2/4 of a block. See? She just lifts her leg like up that. If there's 3 stairs high crate, she'll use this animation with her arms as well as her legs. Now, this is a basic building block of every Tomb Raider level. To climb this one, it's the same as before, just hold forward and action. If at any point during this you let go of action, Lara might, see, not even grab it, or grab and drop. So this is because this is not one seamless, smooth animation, even though it looks very smooth. This is a series of moves. First move is jump, then holding the action key to even grab the ledge, and then pressing forward to climb up. But this was made more convenient for you to just be able to press action and forward, and Lara will do it automatically. This was the case, by the way, in the original Tomb Raider, right? They really tried to make this convenient, and I appreciate it greatly. But you can, of course, if you want, do it manually. So jump, hold action to grab, and now you can climb forward. Now, while holding a ledge, you actually have a couple of options. You can shimmy to the right, shimmy to the left, and if you press forward, you can climb up. If you're holding the ledge and you stop pressing action, Lara will no longer hold the ledge, and so she will let go. This is actually very useful in case you're climbing down from something, a so-called safety drop, and Lara will talk more about that later on. Another way to climb any kind of obstacle, if you want to add a bit of style and flair, is to hold action, hold walk, and press forward. And Lara will do a handstand, just like that. So this is kind of awesome. There's a story apparently that Toby Gard, the original director of the game, who also helped out with level design, programming, and character concepts, the creator of Lara essentially, he also worked on a lot of these animations to make them feel grounded and heavy and humanely slow, right? He added this handstand into the game without telling anyone, and his colleagues found it by accident and were like, my god, this is so cool. Again, this is a story, right? It's difficult to know for sure this is exactly what happened, but there you have it. Now, another thing I'd like to show you before we get to the main gym, and again, I know this is a lot I'm throwing at you, I just really want this to be a very comprehensive library of Lara's moves you can always come back to, is whenever you let go of something, Lara will recover from the fall. No matter how big, there is even the slightest recovery, like this. She slightly bends her knees and recovers. During this recovery, there are a couple of things you can do, but one you cannot do is just turn left. You also can't just turn right. To do that, strangely enough, and I don't know why, and this is the case also in Remastered and the originals, you have to hold forward and left or right with forward. See, now she turned. And now let's do it on the left side. So she's turning only because I'm also holding forward. So this is called recovery pivoting. I don't know why you need to hold forward, why it cannot be done just via holding left or right, but there you have it. Them's are the rules. So another thing you can do is even before Lara touches the ground, you can already start holding the roll key and Lara will immediately chain into a smooth roll. So you can let go, roll, and be on your merry way. This saves a couple of seconds. Another thing you can do, if the distance from which you're falling is not too high, is chain directly into a jump like this. And it can be a backflip, it can be a side flip. If you're letting go of a hollow ledge and there's nothing blocking your path underneath, it can even be a forward jump, right? So you have a couple of recovery options. Now, there are multiple recoveries depending on what sort of distance are you falling from. Let me show you. For example, let's use this one. And Lara bended her knees even more, okay? So that's because she had to overcome a much bigger falling height. Let me show that to you perhaps again. There, bended her knees like that. So when she bends her knees like that, you also have a couple of options. You can either pressing forward and also left or right. Oh, wait, no, that was not quite it. Let me do this again. See, that was too short of a distance, so we even managed to chain it into a run, but you can, during the recovery, chain into jump, or as you're falling, even before the recovery animation begins, to skip it entirely. Now I'm already holding the roll key, and she'll immediately roll. So it's incredibly useful in all sorts of combat scenarios and situations. Now, I'm going to show you sort of the largest recovery, and we're going to take some damage. This is exciting, right? Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Me and Lara, we're both professionals. So this is going to be sort of the longest recovery from a fall. There. You can pivot Lara during it, but you cannot chain into jumps. However, again, just like the previous fall recovery, you can already be holding the roll key. And Lara will immediately start rolling, which can then quicken you chaining in into jump, run, all sorts of stuff, or maybe even into another roll, right? So hopefully that was clear. There are all these different ways to recover from a fall that you can react to rather than just passively observe what Lara will do. Now, I want to show you another thing, and I want us to be able to unlock an achievement, a very obscure one that I didn't even know can be unlocked this way, but there you have it. So, are you ready for this? There is an achievement that for the longest time I could not even figure out or translate what is meant by it, and maybe you won't be either, and it's called Only the Brave Deserve the Fair, Swan Dive to the floor from a maximum height to stay alive. No idea what situation they were referring to. Well, let me tell you something. If you're making this sort of swan dive somersault, even the slighter recovery where Lara just bends her knees will prove lethal to Lara. She will break her neck, okay? And I'm going to show you that in the first level proper. But the highest possible height from which to survive this fall should be this stair. If you just make a diagonal jump like this, you will unlock Only the Brave Deserve the Fair. So there you have it, a little advice for me. That essentially means if we count the number of stairs, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 stairs height is still safe for Lara to swan dive. That means even lower, right? 4, 3, 2, 1. But if we were to do the same thing from here, from this corner stair, and I'm not going to do that by the way here now, Lara would immediately break her neck. So that's why you get the achievement for this, because you've sort of discovered this upper limit. You're welcome. Now, talking about achievements, let's unlock another one. To the right.
This used to be the ballroom, but I've converted it into my own personal gym. What do you think? Well, let's do some exercises.
In a second, Lara. We are absolutely going to do that, but if you sort of go around to see what's on the other side of these crates, you will find another achievement. There we go. Feast your eyes on this, which is actually a quote from Naklin Jatla. Take a close look at tons of gold. So there you have it. That's all it takes. You can't really interact with it. And this is what it looked like in the original, by the way. Not very pretty. It was a cool Easter egg for finding this. It felt like you found treasure, but you couldn't really pick it up or anything. It's so much nicer here. I like to think it's some cursed pirate Spanish gold or something like that. Okay, but back to the gym. By now, if you have listened to my instructions, you will feel like quite a veteran. A few of the things Lara will say to you will actually be new.
I don't actually run everywhere. When I want to be careful, I walk. Hold down the walk button and walk to the white line.
Okay, challenge accepted, Lara. That also involves sidestepping, by the way.
With the walk button down, I won't fall off even if you try to make me. Go on, try it.
Okay, still walking.
If you want to look around, press and hold the look button. Then press in the direction you want to look.
By the way, very easy to, by accident, skip some of Lara's lines by triggering the next one. That's why I was being so careful. So yeah, the whole idea is she will not walk off. The same goes for sidestepping, and the same goes for walking backwards, okay? So, but if you remember, a stair
I
height...
don't actually run everywhere.
Whoa, she repeats the
When
lines.
I want to be
Interesting.
careful, I walk. Hold down the walk button and walk to the white line.
Okay, so if you miss line, you can apparently re-trigger them. See, I didn't know that. That's kind of awesome. But yeah, if it's just a step size, she will walk over it, so it's no biggie. But anything higher than that, well, she will not. Ah, you cannot retrigger all of them, just that one. That's a bit strange. Anyway, the moment you release the walk button, Lara will fall, and the another thing she introduced us to was looking, but I already explained that. What she doesn't explain is you can do it during running and jumping. That's simply because you were not able to do that in the original Tomb Raider, but it's a nice bonus they carried over from TR2 and TR3 into the remastered version.
If a jump is too far for me, I can grab the ledge and save myself from a nasty fall. Walk to the edge with the white line until I won't go any further. Then press jump immediately, followed by forward, and while I'm in the air, press and hold the action button.
Again, a lot to take in. Don't worry, this is scary if you're new. But essentially, you've already done most of this. All you need to do is jump forward, but as you're in air, you need to hold the action key. So first press jump, then immediately forward, and then press the action key.
Press forward and I'll climb up.
And you've already done this on the crates in the main hall. And that's all there is to it. Well, I also like to use this opportunity to show you that you can, in fact, pivot Lara as she's jumping. Now we pivot her to the left, and now we'll pivot her to the right. As you could see, we did not make the distance because pivoting...
If a jump is too far for me,
oh, come on
I
again,
can
Lara.
grab the ledge and save myself from a nasty fall. Walk to the edge with the white line until I won't go any further. Then press jump immediately, followed by forward, and while I'm in the air, press and hold the action button.
Okay, yes, Lara, I think she's suffering from a memory reset. She probably hit her head during the move. Anyway, so what I was trying to say is you can pivot Lara as she's jumping. However, quite naturally, this does not extend her overall trajectory, meaning that if you end up pivoting her to the left, she will not make it to the square, in fact, right? It actually makes perfect sense. So you can pivot right, pivot left, but we also use the so-called grabbing jump. This is interesting because if you start grabbing midair, you can no longer pivot left or right. And there will be some jumps, especially in Tomb Raider 2 and 3, where you need to pivot her and grab. So what are you to do? Fret not, my friend, I will help you. You first need to pivot and then press the action key. Pivot and then press the action key. Here's the trick. You can delay pressing the action key. You don't have to start pressing it immediately. I mean, you can, and it will work just fine on jumps like these that are 2 squares distant. It doesn't matter if you press it sooner or later, but if you want to pivot Lara, then you need to first pivot and then press the jump key. Otherwise, you can no longer pivot once you commit to grab. Hopefully that makes sense and it's not too confusing. An important caveat, you cannot grab from side flips nor back flips in any of the classic Tomb Raider games. I know. But what you can do is make a mid-air roll from backflip and then grab. Right? So keep that in mind. This is a move you will need to master in Tomb Raider 2. Again, I'm sorry, lot to take in. However, this will not work when jumping forward and making a mid-air roll. No grabbing, even though I'm hammering the button. Right? So only from backflips Lara can grab. And I think they made it specifically due to one specific scenario in one of the final levels of Tomb Raider 2. Veterans among you know what I'm talking about. Okay, well, not much else to do here, so let's have a repeat of that and get to number 3.
If I do a running jump, I can make a jump like that, no problem.
That's it?
Walk to the edge with the white line until I stop. Then let go of walk and tap backwards to give me a run-up. Press forward and almost immediately press and hold the jump button. I won't actually jump until the last minute.
Okay, so forward using the walk key, meaning we cannot fall now, okay? Now, Lara gave us a useful bit of advice. If you press hop back, by the way, no longer hold the walk key, okay? Just normally press back. Lara will almost cover an entire square. Let's just take a look at that again. So we are on this side of the square, and now we are almost at the other end of the square, but not quite. And now, if you start running forward and press the jump key, Lara will make the so-called running jump. There we go, right? That's all there is to it. And the sooner you will learn to automate these, they'll become second nature to you, the better. And let me try something different this time. Yeah, even if you immediately start holding the jump key, Lara will not jump until she's sort of hanging above in mid-air after the ledge, giving her the most possible run-up. I'm not sure how she's performing this physics-defying feat, but it means that you can always count on Lara to make that jump, provided the altitude isn't ridiculously different, but we'll get there in some future game. So this is very good and very reliable. I like it. Let's have another repeat of that. Okay, did we miss any lines from these tiles? No, awesome. So let's comfortably walk in.
Right, this is a really big one. So do a running jump exactly as before, except while I'm in the air, press and hold the action button to make me grab the ledge.
Okay, now, please bear with me. Hopefully your head will not explode. But again, we already did this. We set ourselves up for a jump by walking towards the edge, so not being able to fall. Then without the walk key, hopping back once. And now, you already know how to make the running jumps, okay? We just did it there. This time, you remember what we did before the running jump? We did a grabbing jump. So now we're going to combine the two into running, grabbing, jump. So do exactly as before, and while she's in the air...
Nice.
Exactly. Press action, and Lara will grab the ledge. And you know what? Since we received such a lovely compliment, why don't we flourish a bit? And do a handstand again, right? We deserve this. So with these moves, you kind of know everything there is to. Now there's a couple of more hints Lara's gonna give us, and then our ultimate reward, a swimming pool. Let's make another grabbing jump, even though we don't need the grab.
Try to vault up here. Press forward and hold action.
Okay, but this is a trick. Don't trust her. So press forward and action.
I can't climb up because the gap is too small. But press right and I'll shimmy sideways until there is room. Then press forward.
Okie dokie. By the way, see what I'm doing now? I am using the look key whilst holding the ledge. That's another thing you can do here, which is awesome. And yes, we've already been through shimming, but in the next to the crates in the main hall. So this gap is too small for Lara to squeeze in. This will not be the case in Tomb Raider 3 when crawling will be introduced, but it is the case for Tomb Raider 1 and 2. And now, again, you can either climb up normally or you can do a handstand. Entirely up to you.
Tap backwards and I'll jump off backwards. Immediately press and hold the action button and I'll grab the ledge on the way down.
Okay, so yeah, there are essentially two different ways we can... Well, three different ways we can drop down. The one that Lara intended is essentially tapping backwards and holding action, meaning Lara will grab the ledge. That's it. It's rather unimpressive, isn't it? You may be asking, well, why do we need to do that? Why not just drop down? You absolutely can, and you will take no damage. However, in actual levels, there will be some altitudes that will be dangerous for Lara. And doing this, you will be able to minimize the damage by reducing the overall falling distance by 3/4 of a block, right? Now, I'm going to show you a handy trick which can save a lot of time. Let's say you want to drop here. You don't need to turn around like this. Remember, we have the roll key. So you can start running, and when you're in mid-square, press the roll and action, and Lara will do it. Another neat thing is, if you're using the modern control scheme, and all you do is just run towards the ledge, Lara, and I don't know exactly how reliable this works, you will have to try that out for yourselves, but Lara will automatically grab the ledge and let you decide if you want to let go or if you want to climb back up, that sort of thing. Whereas here in the tank controls, which are a bit more brutal, if you go forward and do nothing, Lara will fall. And that's it. So that's about the moves you can do in the air and on the ground, and let's see what we can do in water.
Let's go for a swim. The jump button and the directions move me around underwater.
That's all the instructions we're going to receive from Lara. There is a bit more to that. But first of all, how do we get into the water? Well, we can fall into it just by running. We can jump into it. Or why not be a bit stylish? We can absolutely make a swan dive, like from a diving board. Ha, there we go. Now, on the top left corner of the screen, you will see Lara's oxygen bar. This thing runs out, it roughly takes around 2 minutes, so she has really good lungs. If this thing runs out, your health will start dropping at a crazy fast rate, so you never want that to happen. You want to avoid it at all costs. Although there is one achievement in St. Francis Folly where we'll need to let that happen, but later about that. So essentially that's it. When you're underwater... you know what? Let's first resurface, then I'll explain underwater controls.
Air. Just use forward and left and right to maneuver around on the surface. Press jump to dive down for another swim about, or go to the edge and press action to climb out.
Okay, if we follow Lara's last sentence, we have successfully completed Lara's home. So, what I want to show you is there are sort of two modes we can interact with water. It's on water surface like this. By the way, to keep Lara on water surface, you don't need to hold or press anything. This is done automatically. Thank goodness. Lara, on the other hand, has to constantly move her hands and feet, of course, like any person would. So when you're here, it works kind of like standing on solid ground. You can turn around, you can move forward, backwards, you can pivot Lara whilst doing that, left and right, or you can also use walk and right to do these kinds of sidestep animations. By the way, these were there since the original Tomb Raider one. These are never useful, but it's cool to have that additional degree of freedom. Now, another thing you can do, as on solid ground, you can look around. Just like that. The moment you move the camera underwater, you can hear being underwater. When you move it above water, you don't hear it anymore, regardless of whether Lara is or isn't underwater. It's you, the viewer or the cameraman, who is, right, at that point. So that's all you can do on water surface, and you can also climb out. I'm going to show that to you a bit later on because that ends the training level. If you press the jump key, like Shelly Blonde told us, you can dive right in for another go, but the moment you're underwater, again, your oxygen bar will deplete. Now, when you're underwater, you can again look around however you see fit, or you can turn left, turn right, but instead of going forward or backwards like you would on water surface or on the ground, you only tilt Lara up or down. Again, I have these inverted. It feels like flying on a broomstick in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It feels really good. Anyway, now, how do we move underwater? Well, that's using the jump key, not the action key. And as Lara is moving, you can again pivot her to the left, to the right, just when she's running on the surface. But this time, you can go up or down. So, I was really terrified of swimming when I was little. But when it really clicked to me was when I realized that this is not like swimming, this is like flying across the air just for a limited time, right? So the moment you think of this more as flying and less as swimming, I think the more it will click in your mind as well. Let me know. Ooh, we started taking damage there, see? Because we just ran out of oxygen bar. So the moment you swim up to the water surface, Lara will automatically transition into this stage of movement and being on the water surface. And that's essentially it. Now, one cool thing about swimming in Tomb Raider Remasters is that when you press the roll key, Lara will do this. This was not in original Tomb Raider 1, this was introduced along with the mid-air roll in Tomb Raider 2 and maintained in Tomb Raider 3. So again, this is really neat, and it really makes me think that what we are actually using is the Tomb Raider 3 moveset. However, ducking or crawling and sprinting and doing mid-air roll when swan diving were disabled, and there are no harpoon guns or flares in this game. But otherwise, it's essentially just like Tomb Raider 3. Those of you who play the classics know what I mean by this sentence. So, another thing is, if you hold the walk key underwater, you'll find that you are not able to pivot Lara left or right, and also when swimming, you're not able to turn left or right when holding the walk key. I don't think this is intended. I experienced this also in Tomb Raider 3, not 2 and 1, because those games had dedicated sidestep hotkeys. Here, the walkie modifier just works a bit different, and it will prevent you from turning left or right, which is cool if you want to just move forward without running the risk of turning left or right and you're not using keyboard but an analog stick. Then it can be useful to also hold the walk key, ensuring Lara will only move forward, up or down, but not left or right. She will not lose her way. So I guess that can be considered a feature, not a bug. And also, whilst you're swimming underwater, just like running forward, you can look on the go to the left or right, but not up and down. If during looking you press up or down, Lara will actually start swimming up and down. But it is only left or right that will work without pivoting her, even without holding the walk key. And that, my friends, is it. I really tried to cram as much knowledge as I could into this training level. The moment we step out of the water, we will unlock an achievement. Let me just quickly check the... Oh yeah, welcome to my home, of course. Complete all exercises in Lara's home and will be thrown to the main menu. Guys, if you have any questions about this, anything that doesn't make sense, any things perhaps that I haven't explained well or haven't explained at all, or that maybe you played the game, didn't understand, and have some more questions, please let's use the comments thread as a sort of a Q&A. I have decades of experience with the Tomb Raiders, but even I don't know anything, and I'm hoping that maybe even I'll learn something new from you guys, right? But this is as far as the basic and combination moveset goes, and if this seems intimidating, that's completely fine. And to be fair, this moveset is expanded by some Tomb Raider 2 functionalities. So just familiarize yourself with it in the save environment, and when you're ready to have Lara take off these wet clothes, as she'll say in a moment, press forward and hold the action key and climb up. A one-step altitude is exactly the kind of altitude Lara can climb out of the water from. The other one she can climb out of is if the surface of the land is equal height with the water. But we're not going to see that in Tomb Raider 1, only in 2 and 3, okay? So just go there, press forward, and let's see how much... Oh, so the compass in Croft Manor or Lara's home does not show the statistics. Ah, that's fair enough. There's no reason to. Yeah, let's essentially finalize the tutorial level. And guys, I really don't want this to be, the only video I'll publish on this special day. Be on the lookout on the first Caves level video, which is already out now as you're watching Lara's home tutorial. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next one.
Right, now I'd better take off these wet clothes.
Yay! We got the achievement!